If you look behind me, you can see where the street has cracked and that land has fallen. Now just below us is I-2059, but this isn't the only damage we're seeing today. As for looking ahead in Alabama politics, Gaston says he is optimistic. He says some lawmakers have approached him about a special session to address some key issues. Multiple law enforcement agencies were involved in this manhunt that didn't end until this afternoon. Now that first suspect was caught early this morning around 7 o'clock. Bernard Emerson stood on that porch in 1961 and watched as people gathered around that Greyhound bus parked just over here. Now, at the time, he had no idea what was happening. According to Blount County 911, the suspect was believed to have been involved in shooting into multiple vehicles in areas, including right here. Now, if you remember, the ordinance was first passed last week and made it illegal for anyone to use a restroom that didn't align with their birth gender. Last Friday, the Sable Learning Center had to cease operations because there just wasn't enough money to continue running it. Money for the Education Innovation Fund has been in the budget since 2013 to make sure that certain initiatives in the school system were funded. Bernard Emerson stood on his porch in 1961 and watched history in the making.
People were walking around the bus, and breaking out windows.
A witness to the Freedom Ride into the Deep South that came to a violent halt in Anniston.
I don't know when it was that I realized actually it was a Freedom Riders bus.
Emerson remembers a segregated city that didn't always take integration well. So for him, news of a park to honor the Freedom Rides showed progress.
When they first started talking about it, I believe there's some resentment. There may be some in the area who are not in favor of the park.
This sign behind me gives you some information about what happened that day. It shows you a layout of what the park is going to look like. It even shows you some photographs. But if you look in that top left corner, you can see where someone tried to burn the sign.
It fought hard to get what we got so far. And we'll hope that children throughout the United States will come to Anniston.
Dr. Harbour is a Freedom Rider from Piedmont. He says the goal is to educate everyone, especially those who want to forget.
It was dangerous and it was bad. And don't forget what happened years ago.
In Anniston, Yasmina Alston, ABC 3340. Charlene Strickland spent her Tuesday night like she would any other until she got an unexpected call.
A little after 10, my sister-in-law Linda called me and told me there had been a wreck and that the occupants had fled the scene and was running down the woods this way.
Strickland lives on Able Road, right off Highway 49, just minutes away from where law enforcement were looking for two men considered armed and dangerous.
She asked me if she wanted me to come get me. And when I said yes, I stepped out in the hall, and that's when I heard him knocking on my door, hollering, "Help me, help me."
Oh, I was scared. I was hollering for my husband, get up and get over there.
Strickland hung up with her sister-in-law and called 911, but by the time officers arrived, the suspect was gone.
I hope I never experience anything like this again.
Strickland describes her community as quiet and uneventful, but this incident was a lesson learned.
My gun will be in the bedroom with me at night now.
Even hours after Strickland's scare, law enforcement officers searched into Wednesday and had both men by the afternoon. Joey George remembers that day as if it was yesterday.
So we decided we was going to stay down there because people might need milk, bread, ice, whatever.
He and his wife, Beth, finishing up in their convenience store on Rocky Hollow Road in Webster's Chapel.
About that time, a buddy of mine, he's a sheriff deputy. He came in with a sheriff's car and he said, "Joey, y'all got to get out of here. It's on its way."
A storm nothing like George had ever seen.
And it was already up here at the graveyard. It was just like, it wasn't a funnel, it was a wall.
He recalls telling his wife they had to get out, but both knew there really was no time.
So we just kind of held on to each other behind the counter. By that time, the roof came off and the far wall left and the two outside walls left. And this wall closest to us was coming in, so I kind of got between it and her and grabbed a hold of her, and we went up in the air then.
George can't say how high they went, but he does know it seemed like an eternity.
And all of a sudden it goes, and lets us go.
In those moments, the two of them traveling hundreds of feet.
There's blood. I got 4 teeth knocked out. Something hit me in the head, and my head just, you could feel the skin stretching, And it's just the grace of God that we're still alive.
George's faith is stronger than ever now, and though he no longer runs a store and his wife suffers from pain still, he says God keeps them going.
You want to live life to the fullest each day. I enjoy life more than what I used to before.
For most people living in the Ohatchee area, life has moved on 5 years after that tornado came through. But for others, it's still a work in progress.
You want a reminder, just walk back there and look at that.
Not too far from Tim Axelton's new Ohatchee home are still many visible reminders of that day.
And we all kind of kicked in and made it.
The most painful one, a handmade memorial for his neighbors, James Romaine and Francis Jones.
Especially Jim. If he liked you, he'd do anything in the world for you.
Axelton has since rebuilt his house. New neighbors have moved in where his friends once were, and life has somewhat moved on. Still, it's a day he'll never forget.
Oh yeah, I mean, I still live it every day because there's still things I look at every day.
In Calhoun County, Yasmina Alston, ABC 3340.
What I last saw on the TV, about 4 foot back.